All right, guys, welcome back in. It is an exciting week. It is the end of the regular season in the NFL. Welcome back to Mike and the Feather, the Vegas podcast that's currently focused on giving you all the NFL picks for each week, including my partner Jason right next to me. The Feathers take it to the bank picks each week. Those are his favorite picks of each week, the ones he would put his money on if he had a choice, and he usually does. And if you're coming in from last week, we want to let you know that we're recording this on Monday morning prior to the Lions and 49ers game. So as of this moment, last week, the Feather was 8-7 on the picks, including 2-1 on his take it to the bank picks. For in the last 24 take it to the bank picks, he's running at 19-5 or just a hair over 79% picking. So hopefully you've been coming along for the ride and listening to this guy when he says what he believes your money should go on. If I sound a bit funny, I woke up to celebrate the end of 2024 with apparently some kind of bronchitis or a cold. So I'm going to hang in there for as long as I can. This guy does most of the talking on these podcasts. We thank you. Welcome all our new subscribers. I'm doing all the talking right now. I want to go ahead and turn it over to Jason, and then we will get to all of the picks for Week 18 in the NFL. I'm going to let Jason give you all the details, of course, but Week 18 is always a weird one. We have a lot of division matches and rivalries, and honestly, the majority of them don't mean a hill of beans. A lot of teams playing for nothing, a lot of teams resting starters, a lot of teams like the Giants, who that past week decided they don't even want to lose properly, falling, I think it's from the number 1 seed to, I think it's 5 or 6. The only saving grace for them is the Raiders and the Jaguars chose to win too. So now I think the Texans are...
Yeah, I think you said it was 4. They fell to 4.
Was it 4? Yeah, it's all subject to change with strength of schedule and some things this week. So we are going to look at each game, but Jason will give you the admonition that when you're looking at Week 18, a lot of nonsense and a lot of crappy games. So don't bet just for the sake of betting. And that's enough of that. Let's get to the first game of the week. These are all on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon, we are going to open up with the Cleveland Browns with their 3-13 record at the Baltimore Ravens, who are sitting at 11-5. The spread right now is Ravens at home -18, and I don't know if you know, I looked this up. That is a big point spread, and it's not even the 9th biggest point spread ever. The 9th is 20.5 with the Chiefs versus the Jets back in 2020, a year we all want to forget. But 18 points. How do you bet something like this? Take it away.
I mean, first, the Browns, this sums up their season. I mean, literally, I just heard that Deshaun Watson, they restructured his contract, so it sounds like he will be a Brown next year. They're going to bring in someone for competition against him, so he's not necessarily going to be the guy. We'll see. But they are pretty much hampered with his contract and really can't move him, and they just got to make do for the next couple years, I think, at least next year. And that's pretty much sums up the Browns. They were at home against Miami, who can't win in the cold. They don't win in December very often, and the Browns were 6.5-point dogs, and Miami pulled through. And the Browns are just bad. They're 3-13. At this point, they should try to get the best draft pick possible. The Ravens are playing for the difference of winning the division and getting a home game. And a number 3 seed, or they'll drop all the way to as far as the number 5 or 6, I believe, if they lose and Pittsburgh wins. So a Ravens victory, which you would think is going to be foregone in an 18-point spread, that doesn't leave much room for the Steelers either way. 18 points is a lot. I mean, it's sick that we're having to deal with 18-point spreads this late in the year, which this year there's so many halves, little haves and then have-nots. Like, it's so much disparity, so many bad teams, so many useless, pointless games with teams that, are they going to play their starters? Are they not? Like you said, do they even care about winning? Are the coaches of these teams going to be there next year? Are the players going to be there next year? So betting these games, you got to be careful, guys. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to give you my best analysis of all these, but some of these games are just do not touch. The Ravens, 18 points at home, still playing for a good chunk. The only question is how far ahead before they pull Lamar Jackson? How much are they going to play Derrick Henry? Are they going to try to basically ole their way to get the victory and move on? Or are they going to try to romp the score early and then sit the players down. That's all tough. And an 18-point spread, it's really hard. But I do believe the Browns organization most likely does not want to win this game. They proved that they don't want to win when they played Miami last week. Take the Ravens to cover the 18 points. It's gross to even say that, but take them to cover the 18 points because I believe that the Browns are checked out and they'll be lucky to score 3 to 6 points, 7 to 10 max. I think the Ravens still scored 28 plus points in this game.
So to be clear, though, this is not one that you are excited about betting.
No, the Ravens are going to win. It's just a matter of how much. And when you have an 18-point spread, they could be winning by 24 and give up a touchdown, and they're not covering. It's that simple.
So let's talk about one of the two games that really does have some bearing. And the NFL waited until after this weekend to go ahead and make the times and schedules for next week. And you can tell because they put some of the games that might define who's going to the playoffs and who's not in an order where those teams who have a shot, no matter how small, have to play first and earn their way there before they know they're eliminated. But one of those games for seeding, big seeding here, and potentially winning is the Cincinnati Bengals at an even 8-8. They are the 2.5-point favorites on the road at the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are sitting at 10-6 going into Week 18.
It's interesting how the NFL puts these times in. I mean, obviously they're trying to put times to make it where certain teams can tank when they realize something, but it's weird now because with the Steelers playing second, it's almost like the NFL is trying to say, hey, we want the Bengals in the playoffs because the Ravens play first. If the Ravens win, it doesn't matter what the Steelers do. They're pretty much in a spot where they're not going to win the division. That's done. Now they're only playing for wild card positioning because if they lose, then all of a sudden teams like the Chargers can leapfrog them, right? And the Steelers can only get knocked down probably worst case scenario to a 6 seed. So really, then it comes to the question, are they going to play hard? So the Bengals, either way, they're going to play as hard as they can and get the W at all costs or they're done. So this game's going to have way more meaning for the Bengals than the Steelers by the time this kicks off. Now, in the event the Ravens lose, which isn't going to happen, then the Steelers are playing for the world. But I don't believe in fairy tales. Bottom line, Bengals minus 2.5. We're going to take it to the bank all day long. The Bengals are going to get it done. Like I said, they're the best 8-8 team in the history of the NFL. I say it every week. They should be in the playoffs. Joe Burrow should be the consensus MVP most likely. The way he's overcome this terrible defense that as of late has improved and is probably good enough to, make it work for the Bengals. Bengals get it done. Take it to the bank all day long. Happy New Year, winner, chicken dinner. Boom.
All right, those are the two games for Saturday. We're going to move to Sunday morning with a lot of 10 a.m. games and a lot that don't matter. We're going to open up with the New Orleans Saints out of the playoffs, 5-11 record at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 9-7. And another big spread here, double digits. The Buccaneers are 14-point favorites at home.
I mean, the Raiders beat the Saints. What does that say? I mean, it was in New Orleans, and the Raiders beat them pretty convincingly.
The Raiders can't lose properly either.
No, Raiders.
Let's all not get a good draft pick for all the teams.
Yeah, obviously tanking's not a thing because none of the teams that should be getting top draft picks are like, here, you want it? No, you have it. No. I mean, it's crazy. The Jaguars, everyone won last week. The Jags won. I mean, someone had to win between the Tennessee Titans and the Jags. They're both 3 and whatever. So this game is interesting. The Buccaneers are, after last night's game with Atlanta losing to Washington, huge implications. Now Tampa Bay is back controlling their destiny. They win, they are in. Atlanta had a control. If they would have won out, they're in no matter what Tampa Bay does. So Tampa got a gift, a late Christmas present. The Buccaneers favored by 14 is a lot, but they're going to be at home. And they're playing this game, I believe, they're playing at the same time as the Falcons. So there's going to be some clock watching. That's why when you bet these games, it's really tricky because if they see Atlanta's, not going to win or whatever, players are going to get, pulled at different times. That being said, I'm not going to go with the Saints. Buccaneers at home. You saw what Baker Mayfield is doing. He's got a ton of touchdown passes this year. He's got a really good offense. And they're at home. They're going to be hungry. And even with their backup running backs and some of their new receivers that, stepped up after Chris Godwin went out, Buccaneers cover the spread. Take the Buccaneers minus 14. Boom.
We're going to run this one back from just a couple of weeks ago. The Buffalo Bills, 13-3, are 2.5-point favorites on the road at the helpless New England Patriots with the inverse record of 3-13. But they had a little bit of a scare from the Patriots just a couple of weeks ago in that matchup.
I mean, I think the Patriots are going to fire their coach at the end of the year. I just think he's not going to be the guy. They got to be happy with Drake May. He looks to be the future potentially. Obviously, the Patriots are looking for their next savior because Tom Brady's no longer there. The Bills play for nothing. So this game, they're going to be benching everybody. There's not going to be any Josh Allen, most likely. I can't imagine. Cook will be benched. Mitchell Trubisky, though, he's trying to play for a backup role. So he's going to want to be playing as good as possible in this game because he wants to continue his career in the NFL. We're going to take the Bills minus 2.5. They should be able to cover this game. I don't see why the Patriots would want to win this game and crush their draft pick hopes because that's the only thing they got good going for them right now. Maybe they can, pair up a receiver or some top defender possibly with a really, a top 7 or 8 pick. Bills in a game that is pretty much meaningless across the board. Boom. Here
is your rivalry that has no implication, but I'm sure you want to go ahead and still whoop them. The Chicago Bears at 4-12. And remind us, Jason, what did they start the season at?
4-2.
So that means the Bears
still suck.
And they are at the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. Packers are 11-5, coming off a really close game to the Vikings. Sam Darnold did not complete the collapse a lot of us expected him to do in that game. But the Packers are 9-point favorites against the Bears. And who's playing in this one, and what are they playing for?
I mean, Green Bay gave up their controlled destiny of the number 6 seed, and now they fell into the number 7 spot, which is ugly because they have to go face Philadelphia as opposed to going to play against Tampa Bay, most likely, or the Rams. The Rams is the more likely option that they would play as a 6 seed. Washington pulls out the victory last week, and now they control their destiny this week. They win this week. They have, no matter what Green Bay does, they get the 6 seed, Green Bay 7, going to Philadelphia. Gamemanship is important here. What does Washington want to do? They want to go to Philly, their first game, who they play twice a year. They just beat them a couple weeks ago. Or do they want to go play, red hot Tampa Bay? Or the Rams even. Now, the Rams is probably a little bit more better matchup than Tampa Bay, so they probably want to go play the Rams. All that is going through the minds of both these teams. Green Bay wants to win because they hate Chicago. They haven't lost to Chicago since 2018. Why the Bears would win, I don't know. They shouldn't want to win. They got 4 wins. They got a good draft pick locked up, which they'll probably squander. Packers at 9 points at home. I feel like even with their backup quarterback, Malik Willis, he is solid. He proved he's a starting quarterback in this league potentially. And I think their backup receivers, they can still get the win and the cover. Leave this one alone just because too many variables come into play where, depending on how Washington's doing, and if they jump out to a big lead, Green Bay might pull their starters knowing there's no benefit for them. So if they do that, then all bets are off on a point spread because garbage time is going to come into play. A lot of these games are pretty much like betting preseason football in Week 18. Take the Packers -9 to cover the spread because the Bears still suck, and it just is what it is. Riding Green Bay at Lambeau to continue the streak.
Jacksonville Jaguars, again, another team that won this past Week 17 that really didn't need to, but like I said, somebody had to win. They are on the road at the Indianapolis Colts. Shout out to Mike Kidwell. Colts are -5. They have a 7-9 record, and they are a team that the Giants decided to get their first win over. I guess Drew Lock is the future, throwing for 4 touchdowns and rushing for 1.
45 points.
You know what? If you had Drew Lock starting in your fantasy football championship game, please let me know down below in the comments because I want to get lottery numbers from you and the next 10 Super Bowl winners and a few horse derbies because that was insane. Yeah, more points, I think, than Joe Burrow. I think it depends on your league settings. But anyway, Jaguars at Colts. Colts -5.
Super meaningless game. Literally, it comes down to draft picks for either one of these teams, okay? Whichever one wins is going to hurt their draft position, but that's all either of these teams are playing for. The Colts are playing for a little bit of pride. If they can get to 8-9, they can kind of feel like, hey, we had a mediocre season. It took Jonathan Taylor a while to warm up. They, finally, after we're knocked out of our fantasy playoffs, and we never made it, he had 2 of his best games the last 2 weeks. Go figure. But it wasn't good enough to win against the Giants, so that says a lot too. The Jaguars all of a sudden winning a football game. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I would think the Jags don't want to win this game, but maybe Doug Peterson needs to win to keep his job. I'm going to give the nod to the home team and hope the Colts actually have more motivation to win this game and some of these younger players to play well for future contracts and everything else. So I'm going to go with the Colts -5 to cover the spread. Tread lightly on this game. It's just pure trash.
We just talked about the Falcons, and they are at home hosting the Carolina Panthers with, again, 4-12 record. A lot of 4-12 and 3-13 teams. The Falcons are 8-8, and the Falcons, speaking of 8s, are 8-point favorites at home against the Jaguars.
The Falcons are super disappointed. I believe that their coach, Brian Morris, messed up big time. Poor clock management when there was about 40 seconds left, and he let it run down. And then the spike the ball burnt up about 30 seconds of play clock, led to basically a situation where the field goal was super long and it was missed to end the game and win the game. Instead, it goes to overtime. Jaden Daniels does what he does. He's having a hell of a year. He was hell-bent on running the ball himself into the end zone if he needed to, and was unbelievable. Michael Penix Jr. had a good game. Bijan Robinson looked really good. This Atlanta team seems to have turned the corner since Kirk Cousins. That being said, now their back's up against the wall. They got a fairly quote-unquote should-be easy matchup, and the Panthers, who actually until last week getting the break speed off them by Tampa Bay, were on a nice little run playing pretty well. Bryce Young looked good, but this last week they showed who they were again, and they got worked over hard. Falcons are going to win this game. It's just a matter of whether or not it's going to mean anything for them to get the win. I think Tampa Bay, obviously being a 14-point favorite, is going to beat the brakes off of the Saints. Weird things happen. We see it in Week 18 all the time where like this team needs 5 things to happen to get in the playoffs, and then boom, it happens. But the reality is the Buccaneers are going to probably roll. Atlanta, I think they're going to shield the players from knowing what's going on, so they keep playing hard. That's always a trick. Now with social media, who knows, right? I mean, Falcons get the win. I think they get the cover. They're at home. The Panthers really would benefit from not winning, right, and getting a better draft pick. Once again, are they going to tank? It seems like the teams that should be tanking aren't, so I don't even know how to factor that into Week 18 anymore. But I'm going to go with the Falcons at home playing really good football, and they're going to cover the 8 points against this lowly Panther team that has seemed to get a little bit better the last couple weeks, but it's not going to be enough. Falcons get the win, most likely in vain. They're probably going to still miss the playoffs no matter.
I'm going to apologize in advance because I had a little factoid for this next game, and the fog in my head it's not letting it come through. The Washington Commanders are at the Dallas Cowboys. Commanders 11-5, Cowboys 7-9. The Commanders are 3-point favorites on the road visiting Jerry World. And I think what I read was this is like the first time in 6 or 7 years that Mike McCarthy not going to have a winning record, which doesn't mean much because the Cowboys just don't win anyway. But, why get there if you're not going to do anything with it? But, yeah, that's the game. So Commanders at Cowboys. Cowboys playing for nothing, eliminated. And you talked about the Commanders briefly, so go ahead and wrap it up here with what's at stake for them.
I mean, the Commanders, how much do they want to win? I mean, do they want to avoid Philadelphia or not is the big question, right? They could bench their players, still potentially win anyway against a Dallas team at home that has been improved up until this last week. I mean, they'd won a couple games. They beat Tampa Bay, but then they got absolutely spanked by Philadelphia. My buddy Jake made a point to send me a meme today, being like, what were you thinking, taking Dallas last week? Well, the reality is Kenny Pickett at plus 10 or favored by 10 points is an easy take, that's for sure. But the Cowboys and Commanders, gosh, Dan Quinn's got to make a decision as a first-year head coach. How long do you play your starters to try to win a game or a seeding position when you have a quarterback that likes to run the ball and it can get injured at any time? It's tricky. Commanders aren't going to get a home game. It comes down if they get the 6th seed or the 7th seed, right? Commanders should get the win here. I believe that the Cowboys, no CeeDee Lamb. They're going to mail it in. They're at home at least. That's why we're going to take the Commanders to the bank all day long. My second take of the bank pick of the week. Lock it in. Commanders cover that 3 points without a doubt. Boom.
Last 2 games, I will get through these really quick, believe me. 10 a.m., Texans at Titans. Texans are 9-7. Titans are 3-13. Titans are 1-point favorites at home.
Don't care, don't matter. Texans +1, take that. Really don't take any of it because it's pointless. You might as well play it on your Madden, Madden TV and pick pick it that way because right now this game is irrelevant. The fact that Texans are only 1-point favorites against a terrible Titans team tells you no one's going to play for the Texans. It means nothing to them. They're in the playoffs. They can't improve. They're going to be a 4 seed no matter what, with a home game, which is gross to think that there's a team that could be 12 wins and have zero shot of a home game, and a team that has 9 wins, it's a home game. It's a weird thing. It's Texans +1, but don't care.
And then also my New York Giants coming off their victory, 3-13 at the Eagles at 13-3. Eagles are -3, a lot of threes in the game. But again, this is like, is Hurts going to play? Is it going to matter for any type of positioning? Or the other question that probably matters more is, do they let Barkley get the record?
I mean, there's a lot of things in play here. I don't think, well, for sure, Jalen Hurts is not playing. That's no doubt. The question is Kenny Pickett playing? I mean, are they going to have that young player that came in for Pickett because he got banged up yesterday? Is he going to be the one playing? I'm not sure. The big debate is before the Giants decided to win their 3rd game and they had the #1 seed, was Adam Schefter even reported like what the Eagles should do is don't play Barkley, lose this game, and take away the Giants' #1 pick. I mean, that's the biggest FU to your division opponent, right? Well, now the Giants decided they were going to win last week. They don't even have control of it right now anyway. Who's gonna win this game? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Saquon Barkley should not play. I think there's a lot of debate, like Eric Dickerson's the all-time rushing leader, and he went out and said he hopes that Saquon Barkley doesn't break his record, right? And then RG3 was like all butthurt and like, oh, I lift players up, so I'm going. I was happy that Jane Daniels beat my rookie rushing record. Well, good for you. I'm glad you were happy. Guess what? He did it in 16 games, though. So, therefore, he broke it in 16 games. Eric Dickerson had it in 16 games. Saquon Barkley is going to play his 17th game and need 100 yards to break it. So, really, did he break it? I mean, I understand that, quote-unquote, he broke it. He didn't really break it because it was in less games. It wasn't even in a regular season. Same as Mike Ditka. Brock Bowers broke the all-time or yards record for tight ends, right? For a rookie. But Mike Ditka did it in 14 games, not 16. At least Brock Bowers did it in 16, not in week 18. Take the Eagles -3 because the Giants, I would hope, Michael. I hope
they would not choose to win.
It's probably going to be Eagles by 1 or 2, and Vegas is going to laugh in our face because the Giants will still secure their draft pick, and the Eagles won't cover because everyone's thinking the same thing, that take the Eagles -3 because the Giants have to lose, right? But watch and see. Small prediction, if they don't cover, the Eagles win by 1 or 2. Very specific, but otherwise, take the Eagles. Boom.
All right, all the afternoon games start at 1:25 p.m. this final Sunday of regular season football. Go with the Miami Dolphins, 8-8. They have, I think, a flicker of hope, like a Dolphins chance in a can of tuna. There are 2.5 points favorites on the road against the New York Jets, 4-12. It seems like we're going to have yet another offseason of speculation and questions about Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to play to try and make a point, or where does this game go? And is Tua going to come back because he sat out this last game?
The Dolphins have about a 11% chance to make the playoffs right now. That's the stats. They need a lot to happen, obviously. Well, it's pretty simple. If they need to win and Denver needs to lose, and then there might be a little more something to that, but roughly that's it. Now the Dolphins go into New York. They won in the month of December. They won in colder weather in Cleveland. Hated division rival. Aaron Rodgers took himself out of the game last week when they went down 40 points. He's like, hey, how about we give Tyrod Taylor a shot here, guys? Aaron Rodgers is trying to get number 500. The elusive 500 touchdowns. Needed one for... Never got it. You would think he would have stayed in for garbage time to get his 500th, but he didn't even want to play. How hungry is he to get that 500th touchdown? Because is Aaron Rodgers going to be in the NFL next year? That's a big question, right? So I'm going to bank on the fact that I believe that Aaron Rodgers is a prideful enough guy that he wants to come out in a positive light. Okay? He has enough ego and ability to say, hey, I want to come out on top. Yes, we're going to go for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets plus 2.5 to upset the Miami Dolphins. Aaron Rodgers is going to throw for at least 2 touchdowns, maybe one to Devontae Adams, and maybe the 500th touchdown pass to his guy, Devontae. But Aaron Rodgers breaks the record. This team will have enough heart and enough piss and vinegar left against a Dolphins team that's going to be shivering on the sidelines to get it done. Jets plus 2.5. Boom.
Did the Titanic set sail towards New York or out of New York or whatever it was? Because I wish I had the energy to go back and look at how many times in these videos you said, "Don't let me take the Jets anymore. I'm not taking the Jets. Why do you think I'm gonna take the Jets? The Jets are dead to me." And you're going down with the ship in Week 18. Aaron Rodgers just still runs through your blood.
Week 18, I just think that he's going to get his touchdowns, and I just think that the Jets will find a way. We'll see what it's a stupid game, though. In the end,
it is.
It's a pointless game. Don't bet it, but if you do, take the Jets plus 2.5.
All right, Chiefs and Broncos. Chiefs have a record. No one cares. It's 15-1. I'm sorry, you don't care. The Denver Broncos are 9-7. They cooled off a little bit, then got hot again. Still a better record than anybody expected, and because of everybody basically sitting, the Broncos against the 5-1 Chiefs are 10-point favorites at home.
15-1 or 5-1?
You would think they should be probably 5-1. Like you should probably think like 8 of their games shouldn't count. But anyway, 15-1. The audience knows they're smart.
Here's one thing I do know: the Chiefs are the worst 15-1 team in the history of the NFL. They're just not even a debate. The Broncos 10-point favorites. I mean, in a way, I have to become a Chiefs fan because I want the Bengals to get in, right? So it's like I'm in a weird spot. But God, this must be a conundrum. Here, the Chiefs have to let their hated rival into this playoff run in the Broncos. The Broncos get in, their hated rival, or the Bengals, the other team that basically knows how to beat Patrick Mahomes in the regular season and in the postseason as well. So what a conundrum. The Broncos 10-point favorites. Normally I'd be very happy about this Chiefs situation that they're going to most likely get the loss due to the fact they're going to bench everybody. I don't have much faith in Carson Wentz, and the Broncos are heavily motivated, and they're probably going to dash the Bengals fans and Bengals team's dreams. Chiefs don't care. They're going to tank. They don't want to see the Bengals in the playoffs. Broncos -10 in a pointless game unless you're a Bronco fan.
And if you're a Raiders fan, have we got a game for you? It's a division matchup between the Los Angeles Chargers, 10-6, 5.5-point favorites on the road, against the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm not going to do the voice now because my throat is. Or the Raiders get a victory. Congratulations, 4-12. Good job. The Chargers -5.5 on the road.
Over under 50% showing up to that game. What do you think, Mike? I mean, you're looking at the Chargers fan base, which is pretty suspect, and the Raiders fan base as of late.
Let's just be honest. You and I both got offered tickets from different people to go to the Raiders game last week before, and we were like, not worth the headache. They were playing the Jags.
Yeah.
Just wasn't worth going for all that traffic and headache. I mean, I'm not even sure if I would have seen any team go to play. You would have gone to see the Packers. I might have passed on the Giants. But anyway.
I mean, last year, very simple. The Chargers played the Raiders, and the Raiders hung 60-plus points on the Chargers, and they fired their coach that night. I think there's going to be some revenge here. The Chargers are playing for something, too, because here's the deal. If for some reason in the world on Saturday, the Steelers win, the Chargers play for nothing, and they're going to bench everybody. Okay? They're probably going to bench everybody. That's just the reality. Assuming the Steelers lose, the Chargers have a lot to play for because now they move up in seeding and they can get the 5 seed and they can dodge having to play a team like Baltimore or play the Bills, right? Sounds pretty good. Good idea. So that's exactly what they're going to do. The Chargers are going to cover the 5.5, but in the event they do not need anybody and they bench everybody, even though the Raiders should lose for the sake of draft picks, but they don't seem to know how to do that either, just like the Giants, stay off this game. If the Steelers lose, jump on the Chargers, take it to the bank. Take the Chargers to the bank all day long, but it's contingent on if the Steelers lose.
Last 2 games of Sunday afternoon, the Seattle Seahawks at 9-7, playing for nothing, are 3-point favorites at home against the LA Rams, who are 10-6.
Seahawks are out. Rams are in. Rams can't improve anywhere. They're not playing anybody. That's why the Seattle Seahawks are favored by 3 points in LA. I don't know if the Seahawks have the heart to even care, but take the Seahawks to cover because the Rams will have no one on the field, and they definitely don't care about this game whatsoever. Seahawks at least could win 10 games on the year and be the team that complains like, oh, we won 10 games and we didn't make the playoffs. And there's other teams that have worse records that have a home game. Their coach is a young coach. He doesn't want to lose. He wants to, get that elusive 10-win plus season underneath his belt as a new head coach. Seahawks -3. Boom.
Last game, a team that did not make anywhere near the splash again that people thought they would. San Francisco 49ers, ending at 6-9 for their record, are on the road at the Arizona Cardinals at 7-9. 49ers are 1-point favorites, and this is another game where I don't think anybody's playing for much. I think I read the 49ers are locked in. They can't get higher than the 11th pick. So do they play it out? Does Purdy want to make sure he has another good game before he starts signing big contracts?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see where it shakes out. I mean, the 49ers, we're recording this on a Monday afternoon, so they got to play yet tonight. Will they, how are they going to do against the Lions? We're going to find out at home. If they play hard against the Lions, we'll see what their effort will be for next week, right? They're playing for nothing. As far as draft picks, I don't know where that stands if they lose the next two as opposed to winning both of them or winning one and losing one. The Cardinals, on the other hand, they fought hard last week, fell short against the Rams. This is a super meaningless game. It's literally a coin toss because who knows who's going to play. Will Purdy play? Will Kittle play in Week 18? Will any of those guys play? I'm going to give the nod to Arizona because they're at home, and I think that they'll have enough pride to try to get the W at home as opposed to the Niners, who obviously had Super Bowl expectations this year, and they fell so short due to injuries and just flat out not playing good football. So take the Cardinals +1 to get the upset at home. Minor upset. Boom.
All right, so when these schedules were created by the NFL, I'm sure they had to do a little bit of thinking ahead of what would be the best matchups the last week of the season. As you can see, a lot of these are divisional matchups against teams with rivalries or whatnot. But this one got flexed to be the most important game of your Sunday. It's going to close out the regular season. And I think if you ask the majority of people who aren't Vikings fans, which of these games is going to be the most important game 18 weeks later, I don't know how people pick this game. But the Vikings, I'm going here. Vikings sitting at 14-2 are on the road at the Detroit Lions, who still have yet to play tonight. So I'm not sure of their exact record, but they're 13-2 before tonight. Lions are 2.5-point favorites at home right now. Again, it's all subject to change based on injuries tonight or anything else that happens after the Lions 49ers game. But this could be, if the Lions win tonight, the Vikings and Lions are playing for it all together.
So as of this morning, when I set this line up, or just before kickoff, it was Lions -2.5. That definitely could change based on different variables. I think the line's going to go up in this one. I think it's going to, if you're thinking about the Vikings, you want to probably wait because I think it's only going to go up. It's not going to go down, barring some weird injuries that happened tonight. Aaron Jones did get banged up, and he left the game and didn't return yesterday against the Packers. So that's a little concerning. But I think he'll be fine. Maybe it's preventative or precautionary. I'm not 100% sure. This is an interesting matchup. 2 years ago, Sunday Night Football was flexed to Packers versus Lions, and the Lions had got eliminated from playoff contention before they kicked off the game. And they found that out prior to the game kicking off, and that they went into Lambeau Field with Green Bay, a win-and-in situation, and they took it to the Packers and spoiled Aaron Rodgers, and that was the end of Aaron Rodgers' era in Green Bay after that loss at Lambeau Field to kill him out of the playoffs. Now here we go again 2 years later. Dan Campbell is locked and loaded, trying to take the number 1 seed. Loser of this game falls to a 5 seed. That's a big fall from grace.
That's insane how one game means so much. You go from the bye to the playing right in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, you literally whoever wins this game, Super Bowl goes through them. It's just that simple. And the Lions defense has been a problem, and it's a problem against the better teams. They are able to compensate against the lesser teams, but this defense is in shambles, okay? No David Montgomery, which is going to play to be key. Jahmyr Gibbs had a great game last week. I hate to say this, but skull.
I tried to get you to do that all year long. I wish I had known that was coming.
I had
something prepared.
I saved it for the coup de grace.
I would have brought out a horn. You could just give it a big old blow.
For all you Vikings fans out there, I am disgusted with the Vikings, but this is an unbiased situation, and I gotta say what I've been feeling and thinking. I think due to the fact that the Lions defense is problematic, I think that this talented tight end and receiving core for Minnesota is going to put a hurt on them. As long as Sam Darnold could do anything of what, if he does anything like he did against Green Bay, putting up almost 400 yards and playing really solid football, This coach for Minnesota is legit. This defense is far better than Detroit's. Sorry, Detroit fans, but no home game for you this year. Minnesota gets it done. Take Minnesota plus 2.5, but I'm telling you, wait on this game until the end of the week if you're going to bet it, because it's going to go to 3+, okay? It might even go to 3.5, but I'm going to take Minnesota plus 2.5, plus 3, plus 3.5. Minnesota is going to get it done, shock the world. A team that was picked to win only 5.5 to 6 games this year total, finished last place in the division, is going to be the number 1 seed in the NFL. And it just makes me a little bit sick just thinking about that. But anyway,
you have the history of what Vikings fans are used to occurring, though. So I don't know any of my friends who are Vikings necessarily on the bandwagon because they've been through this.
Well, right now the key for Minnesota is the biggest trouble for them is the playoffs. So when they get into playoffs, let's talk about the missed kick against Seattle. That was like a 17-yard kick that I could have made with one leg. And it just goes on and on, okay?
Right. That's all of the games for the last week in the NFL. Remember, again, reminder if you kind of skipped ahead, recording this Monday afternoon before the Monday night game. These are early lines, so do keep an eye. Think about what Jason said as far as things that might move or might happen that could affect your decision-making process. Don't necessarily just bet a game because it feels good. Week 18 is nutso with players not playing full games, not playing at all. Players trying to make a point, players not wanting to play because they're pissed off, coaches who are already thinking about the unemployment line. It's almost as crazy as the first couple of weeks were this season.
Yeah, Week 18 is the closest thing to preseason football as it gets for most of the games. I mean, there's a handful that are meaningful, but the rest are hot luck, okay? I can't believe Week 18 is here. It's here, and it's about to be gone, and the playoffs are going to be here. January is right here on the cusp of January. Where did the season go? Wow.
Well, like I said, 25 years ago, planes were falling from the sky and your toaster was going to eat you. That's a quarter century removed. And I bet some of our viewers, at least for the last 3 years, because no one I know for sure is watching this who's under 21. Anyone born who's 24 or younger wasn't even there for midnight on Y2K.
All right, well,
that's
next
nostalgic.
Yep. Next time you see us, guys, we'll be here next week for the playoffs and giving you picks for playoffs. And it's playoff time. Playoffs.
And who do the Giants play in the playoffs?
The Giants?
Yeah. I forgot. I didn't see on the list.
The Giants. Breaking news: the Giants have just accepted a deal in the Canadian Football League. That's their best chance to win football games.
Can't they just go to the XFL? Can't somebody call Vince McMahon? I heard he's not doing anything. All right, guys. Have a safe and happy New Year. If you're watching this after Tuesday night, happy 2025. We'll be back next Tuesday with the normally scheduled show. Go through all the playoffs, and then we'll transform back into what will become your favorite weekly Las Vegas podcast here with Mike and the Feather, guys. So I'm losing my voice, so I'm gonna say it. I'll say it with words.
Until next time, guys, take it to the bank. Boom.